Welcome to the podcast. If you'd like to listen to an ad-free version of this episode and all of our episodes, then search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. That's our premium channel where all of our ad-free and advanced episodes live, all in one place. True Crime Today Premium Plus. Search it on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. Even try it for 3 days free.
Every day is just one heartbeat away from a headline. This is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi, featuring retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer.
There's just so many names that come up in this case that seem to be very solid leads. I think in almost any other case, you would be looking much more into them, but they just brushed off. There's another handful here, more so in the world of Odinism. Of course, it's also was not allowed to be talked about. Let's go through some of these. Brad Holder, the vowed Odinist, initially a suspect due to his religious affiliations to the crime scene. The defense argued that elements of the crime scene, such as the rune-like formations, pointed to the ritualistic killings. However, the theory obviously dumped by the court. What about his involvement in any of this?
Well, it didn't ferret out, but it was certainly looked at, and it was looked at by the FBI and by the task force officers. And so, but we've seen what happened since then, right? One individual that looked into it, he was charged for fraud on a completely unrelated matter. Another task force officer was actually shot and killed at kind of a shoot-off situation at the in and around the FBI office. Generally, that's what happened. So, but essentially, that path was followed, and it wasn't believed to really ferret out. I think, in large part, because of Ron Logan and the belief by the FBI that Ron Logan was involved.
What about Patrick Westfall and his involvement? And I know he also had connections to Odinism as well.
Yeah, none of them essentially, Tony, ferreted out, and I never bought into anything to do with the Odinism. Sure. As an example, the rune that was on the tree, what was called a rune, which they later said was Libby's hand, with blood as she, scrambled backwards, if you will. I can only imagine deliriously, having been cut and placed her hand on that tree. That's the thought process. But the big problem was, if they could have just taken that bark and done the correct investigation 7 years ago now, there would have been no discussion of rune, likely, because they would have gotten DNA and made some decisions. So I don't think it was a rune. I think the long of the short of it was that never ferreted out. And I understand the judge saying, listen, we're just not going to throw mud up on a wall and blame everyone and anyone, like in the Karen Reed case, for a crime with absolutely no evidence against these people. But where that goes astray to me off the tracks is Ron Logan and Keegan Kline, at least to some degree.
The other interesting character in this, Elvis Fields, a lot of people will say that he seemed to have knowledge of the actual crime scene himself, even making some weird comments. Let's talk about him for a moment and just the bizarre place that he put himself in this whole thing.
Well, and a lot of people, certainly I've seen online over and over again, there's certainly a whole group that are behind the belief that he was involved, and some of it was, knowledge, if you will. But the problem with this case is, from the beginning, so much was leaked. Really, the Ron Logan affidavit was leaked. Crime scene pictures, ungodly crime scene pictures were leaked, even, very recently for a second time. Other crime scene pictures years ago were leaked. Remember, these girls were found by citizenry. And so in a small town, obviously people talked, small town police force, a lot of individuals involved in this. So there was a lot of information very early on about the details of this crime. Most of us knew there was never sexual assault. Most of us knew about the bullet. Most of us knew that their throats were slit. Most of us knew they were moved. Most of us knew they were concealed by foliage or tree branches and things. So much was leaked so early, unfortunately, that it was really hard to tell who really knew what and why.
Mm-hmm. Didn't Elvis make a comment about if he spit on the girls, would that connect him to the crime scene? Am I correct in that statement?
I've read that.
Okay.
And Tony, I have to tell you, there is so much in this case that has been contrived, that has been not properly really relayed.
Vetted.
Vetted. Just like in most cases, man, if I can't see it, for the most part, if I can't see it on the docket, if I can't see it in the court documents, I just give so much pause to it.
Mm-hmm.
This case particularly was a nightmare because everything that we got to see was because others gave it to us.
Mm-hmm.
Reporters, YouTubers, and we were at their mercy. And as you know, I could sit here right now and you could go on a dialogue about something and I could take notes and maybe get one quote right and probably miss a great deal what you said afterwards because I was so busy writing that quote.
Sure.
And that's what I would have to relay. And that's what happened in this case. Yeah. I never got a clear picture of all the testimony and everything because of the lack of transparency in this matter.
There was so much of it, all the way to the very, very end. I thought you had a very good tweet, and I want to read part of it. This was right after the verdict. I woke up. This is from the perspective of if it was, in fact, Richard Allen. I woke up. I visited my mom. I gathered my gun and box cutter because I was planning to rape and kill little girls. I've been a CVS clerk for over a decade and have no criminal record. I serve my country as a National Guardsman without issue, but on 2/13/17, I just got the urge to kidnap two little girls, take them to someone else's property, and slit their throats after undressing them. Yes, I'm 45 and have never looked at child pornography or inquired about how to commit a murder or cover up such a murder before. I know I'm only 5'4", but I think I can likely control two teenagers if they see I have a gun. I was just lucky to stumble upon two girls I could attack in public. This is what you must believe if you're willing to convict Richard Allen. And apparently that jury was able to believe that.
Yes, Tony. And I stand by that tweet. I'll be bothered by this case, but yet I respect the jury's opinion based on what they had to work with.
It'll be very interesting to see the next steps in this as the appeals process begins to play out. Or I'd mention this too, new evidence. New evidence can also bring a new trial back to light, maybe even faster than going through the actual appeals process. And it just feels like there's a lot sitting out here in the field that needs to be looked at a little bit more in detail if we can even see it anymore. That's the problem with time. Some of it's already eroded. Jennifer Coffindaffer, retired FBI special agent, thank you for discussing this one and giving us your insight.
Thank you, Tony.
Welcome to the podcast. If you'd like to listen to an ad-free version of this episode and all of our episodes, then search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. That's our premium channel where all of our ad-free and advanced episodes live, all in one place. True Crime Today Premium Plus. Search it on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. Even try it for 3 days free.
You're in the thick of a true crime saga, every detail sinking in, and then, wham, a commercial about something you couldn't care less about. It's like being served a microwaved dinner at a 5-star restaurant. But it doesn't have to be this way. Go for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts. With True Crime Today Premium Plus, you get uninterrupted, ad-free episodes, extended interviews that dig even deeper into the muck, and early access so you can brag to your friends. It's like ordering the secret menu at a crime buffet. So, search for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, and savor every twisted detail without interruption.